Danny Graham cheats at Tarbush. Late into the night, he starts making up rules to take advantage of good, law-abiding mainlanders like myself. He was doing this 28 years ago when I met him, and he continues to do this to this day. Despite his cheating at Tarbush, we became friends and teammates. And as many in this room well know, it's not easy to be friends with Danny Graham for 28 years. And I say this not only because he cheats at Tarbush, I say this not because he hogs the puck. I say this not in relation to any of a multitude of his personal failings. Rather, I say this because, and it's evidenced in his approach to Tarbush, I say that it's hard to be a friend of Danny Graham's because the normal rules don't apply to him as often as they apply to us. Take, for instance, his approach to aging. On one hand, things are normal. He's certainly somewhat slower in hockey than he once was. Actually, after last Saturday, I can say he's shockingly slower than he once was. And it's only in the dimmest of light that one could say he's a flaming rather than a smoking redhead. But here's the thing. He fancies himself fast. He considers himself ginger. And by power of belief alone, he is. And Danny is powered by belief. And the tragedies that have touched his life have only strengthened his beliefs. More specifically, he believes in people. And perhaps most relevant to tonight's recognition, he believes in the empowerment he creates by believing in people. While some of us have grown older and wiser, he's grown younger, more naive, more idealistic, purer of heart. And he believes he can drag all of us down that road with him. It's his gift. But here's another thing. However naive and crazy his ideas may seem, if you listen long enough, and trust me, his complete disregard for time is such that you will have to listen long enough, his ideas start sounding more wise than the conventional wisdoms that age have thrust upon us. We need more people to fall victim to him. Over the time we've been friends, some, not all, some of his crazy ideas have been proven right. Who in this room right now does not believe we as a society need more mechanisms of restorative justice? Who here doesn't believe that we need stronger voices working with our First Nations? Or more of the old establishment working with young innovation? Who here doesn't believe that our larger institutions require commitment and budget lines to corporate social responsibility? Danny was at the forefront of belief in all of these ideas before they had any traction. I believe this award condemns us to keep listening to him for however long he may drone on. I am delighted to introduce this old, slow, gray, long-winded cheater, my friend Danny Graham is the ambassador for this.
And a speech like that condemns the Toronto Maple Leafs, Gus, to another 30-some years without the Stanley Cup. I just want you to know. Oh, boy. It's such an honor to be here. Listening to Paula and Jesse and Robert and Ryan and Haley, first of all, makes me feel humbled to be standing on the same stage that they stood on in this evening. I really didn't know what to expect from this evening. My nephew Mac told me that they were going to play Eye of the Tiger when I came up to the stage. And I too, when I was asked to accept this recognition this evening, thought that they had the wrong guy. And I went through a period of wondering, well, really, should I accept? But then I thought that perhaps even for one night, my brothers might call me Mr. Ambassador. And I realized this is a done deal. And then when Donna Williamson told me that there might even be a free supper, I realized, well, this is a done deal. I had no idea that there was a film. I didn't know really very much about this evening. But when I heard about the free supper, having grown up in a family of 10 people, you have to appreciate that the word supper is right up there in resonance with words like Disney and Stanley Cup and grading day. So I confess that I'm here mainly for the free supper, along with 3 tables of Grahams here this evening who would probably have the same thing. But I eventually got over, I accepted because it was a free supper, and I was feeling insecure about whether or not I was the right person to receive this recognition. And I started to get over it, but the wonderful sponsors, the media sponsors, CTGB, brought me into the studio on Monday morning, and I was with Amanda Debison for Breakfast Television, and then she pops the question, so why were you selected? Oh, she asked the question. And so I was thrown back into this thing, and I think I actually said something like, I really don't know. And so the shallow side of me thought to myself, well, perhaps Family SOS thinks that I'm some kind of a big spender at auctions. This crazy idea, now this is a true story, this crazy idea comes back when I last attended one of the Courage to Give Back Awards, and you need to understand that I go to dinner auctions for the bargains. Now, that's not to say that this is like a flea market or anything here tonight, but on one particular night, I remember distinctly that it was a Family SOS night, and they might have thought I was a big spender because I bought a bicycle at in the auction items that they had here. And it was a big spend for me, but frankly, I was just looking to get rid of my car so I could do that. And the second big item that I bought that night was came in the live auction. And I think Gord was doing the live auction that night. And it was a trip for 2 to Calgary for 1 week. Not exactly Cancun, but 5 nights out in Calgary at a place called the 5 Points. Now, I thought that 5 points meant 5 stars. It didn't. And I thought the package was worth thousands of dollars. So I was surprised when the bidding started to go slowly at some point, well below what I thought was fair value. And I had been inspired by the Courage Awards that night. I had little interest in Calgary. I simply wanted the bids to reach those fair values. So I stayed in the bid with a wealthy Halifax man who could afford it, who it turns out was cheaper than me. For how many of you have you heard the words going once, going twice, and it sends a shiver up your spine like your bank account's going to disappear, the mortgage won't get paid? Well, that was my experience. As it turns out, that bike is one of the most important. I'm on that bike most days still, most days of the year. And despite the trip for 2 becoming a trip for 5 and lasting for 2.5 weeks, it was perhaps one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my whole life. And it was a reminder that the things in life that we initially regret and we fear are often the things that help us the most. That's my message tonight, and I think it's the message of the award winners this evening. We've heard 5 inspiring stories about the possibilities that come with loss and disappointment. My co-recipients here tonight remind us that when you're served lemons, you can make lemonade. When the unexpected happens, the unexpected is actually possible. Adversity is a gift in disguise. We can choose to bury adversity, or we can choose to embrace it. And this is especially true, I think, for families. I believe that the secret to healthy societies and healthy communities is ultimately centered around the notion of healthy families. Across all cultures, through all of time, my sense is that it has been the family, a healthy family, that has provided for prosperity. The strength of families has shaped the strength of societies fundamentally. So, in preparing for my remarks this evening, I thought of the countless people, including so many in this room, who have surmounted hardships. How many of us, and I'll just do this for the first part of this question, with a show of hands, this is the audience participation part of this evening. How many of us have lost someone too soon? You don't need to show your hands for any of the rest of this, but how many of us have lived with mental health issues, or addictions, or abuse, or struggled with the day-to-day work of difference and disability? In the times that I've attended the Courage Award, this evening has been more about our shared experience of loss and pain and perseverance and purpose, redemption, community, joy, and possibilities, because we all experience this together. Fundamentally, nobody belongs on this stage any more than any other one of us. Most of our challenges, I think, are unseen or unspoken. It feels to me sort of like an iceberg. 90% of it is not seen, and 10% of it is. Family SOS gets that. They're like submariners. They go into the cold, difficult waters where few others go and discover the beauty and challenge in every family. The challenges of my family, losing Sheila, and the challenges with respect to my son, Patrick, are more above the water and visible than some other families. But they're no different than so many other families in our society. So let me address Amanda Debison's question more personally than I've done so far. I've been joined this evening by a large family who I love so much. Like you, we're familiar with loss and challenge. Just about every kind of support that Family SOS provides, we've experienced. Nobody escapes hardship or challenges. The secret may be to recognize the challenges as an invitation. I was thinking about the SOS acronym when I was thinking about my remarks today, and it reminded me of something, a gift that I've been given. The invitation to slow down, open our minds, and soften our hearts. And it just happens that that aligns with SOS. This invitation was given to me on the morning of September 25th, 1990, when Patrick, my eldest son, came into the world. He had an unusually round head, slightly curved pinkies, and uncommon eyes. And when Dr. Guptill showed up later that afternoon to tell Sheila and me that Patrick had Down syndrome, the range of emotions that I felt were deep, unexpected. It still kept joy, but it was mixed with loss. Once Dr. Gupta left, in that mix of emotions, I started to tear up. It didn't last long. For the small group of you who knew Sheila, my late wife, the person with the real courage to give back and the most deserving person for this kind of recognition, you may have heard me say before that she looked me straight in the eye and she said, "We will have none of that. This boy will bring great joy to our family." And so in the weeks that followed, we were greeted with a variety of people who didn't know whether to congratulate us on his birth or pass along their regrets. I was equally awkward, because at that time, the only thing that I could remember really saying is, well, Sheila and I have had experience as volunteers with people with Down syndrome, so it's all going to be good. But I don't know how those parents of children with autism manage. ... Fast forward 9 years. Around Patrick's 9th birthday, he stopped speaking. And he stopped socializing with so many of his family. He was one of the most joyful people you could imagine from birth to age 9. And it seemed that our lives had changed once again. Fundamentally, what Sheila and I learned was that it was time to embrace adversity once again. It's now 23 years later. He has 23 aunts and uncles. He's had 23 operations. And he has 30 first cousins and many other family members like the Camerons, who are as much like family as anyone could be. And in the whole tribe of us, he is the best example of learning that what we initially regret or fear is the thing that helps us the most. I lost my... There we go. So Patrick, this is Patrick now. Patrick, look at me, buddy. It's not Squid. If you only saw his face when Squid was playing, you'd appreciate what Patrick's really all about. So this is Patrick. He loves Disney princesses. Each one of them he would have a personal relationship with in his own mind. What we've learned and what we've discovered in our family, the ways that Jesse, Paula, Robert, Ryan, and Haley personified, and what I think the staff and board at Family SOS really believe, is that in our challenges we discover our courage and our potential. In our darkness, we discover our light. And in our search for courage, meaning, and purpose, everything we need is already there. Thank you, Family SOS. It's really an honor to be part of this evening.